Okay, so I believe we can start now. Let me start first by saying welcome to our audience and thank you for attending today's webinar. So today's webinar, Industry Labs Digitization, organized by Sharjah Research Technology and Innovation Park, is the first webinar of a series of webinars that will be coming very soon. We are planning to have series of webinars coming every Wednesday. And as for us as Intel Corporation, we are very happy to participate on the first webinar organized by Sharjah Research Technology and Innovation Park. It's a great opportunity for us to talk about the collaboration and our vision in the region. Before we start, I would like to highlight the agenda for today. The agenda will start by a presentation on Sharjah Research and Technology Innovation Park. Later, you will hear from Intel's vision on smart city, especially that the webinar is focusing on digitization. So our key focus is Internet of Things and smart city today. It's very important for us to make sure that the attendees and the audience, we keep them engaged. So during the coming hour, you can ask questions in the Q&A session or in the chat, and we will have some time at the end to review some questions, and our speakers can come back to you. Also, we will have some polls questions during the presentation to hear for your feedback and inputs and presented and talk about the results of these inputs collected from you during the call. So now let me start welcoming our speakers. So His Excellency Mr. Hussein Al-Mahmoudi, who is playing a dual role as CEO of American University of Sharjah Enterprises and CEO of Sharjah Research and Technology Innovation Park. His Excellency's priority is to drive collaboration across industry, academia, and public sector, and to make sure that they foster innovation with this great ecosystem partnership. From the other side, I have Mr. Tommy Ratio. Mr. Tommy is Intel's Director for Enterprise and Government for the Nordics region, Benelux, Switzerland, Italy, and Spain. Also, Mr. Tommy plays a role on enterprise 5G business development for Intel across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So, Your Excellency, welcome. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. It's good to see you.
And Mr. Tommy, hello. Thank you for calling from Spain. You are attending today. So let us start now with a presentation on Sharjah Research Technology and Innovation Park by His Excellency, Mr. Hussein Al-Mahmoudi. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Adib, and thank you, Mr. Tommy, and hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us today in this first SRTI Industry Labs in collaboration with Intel. We are very proud to have this collaboration. The topic of today is digitization. Digitization is a topic that is considered one of the most important topic across industries. In this era, we have to digitize pretty much everything. We see a growing work happening related to digitization and healthcare. We see a lot of work happening in education and government works, and basically every industry is impacted with digitization. So that's why we decided to have our first topic around digitization and what could be a better company to really partner with and bring you best practice other than Intel to share with us our knowledge. So without further ado, what I will do for those who don't know about the Sharjah Research and Technology Park, I will do a quick presentation about the park, and I will try to share with you the various industries we work with, and maybe give you some examples of the digitization elements that we've been having. So I hope you can see my presentation as I speak now. The Sharjah Research and Technology Park, was established by Sharjah government to promote innovation in 6 main areas. And this is part of an overall UAE government innovation drive. So it is in part of the UAE strategy to foster and promote knowledge economy and research and development. So the park was designed to do that. This is our headquarters, which we hope that we will move there next month. And this is supported and funded by the Sharjah government. What we are trying to do within this project is 4 things. One is to build an ecosystem that will create and foster innovation. This is through building the infrastructure, through the right policies, through the providing of funds, and through also development of talents. The second objective is to generate employment for our young people. Future employment related to future technologies, whether it's AI or blockchain or IoT or digitization or others. 3, we want to catalyze knowledge economy. We believe going forward, oil will not stay there forever. We need to come up with a new knowledge economy based projects related to new technologies. And last but not least, invest in the future. We want to create companies, enterprises that will support the overall economy and create economic impact, jobs, opportunities for everyone. We believe in our work in partnership. So we have developed great partnership all over the Arab world. We believe to have a global vision, but with a regional vision. We believe we have to come up with our own model in the Middle East that will work here. While models in Silicon Valley or in China or in Europe might be great for those geography, we believe in the Middle East we have to have our own model that fosters innovation. And that's why we believe in partnerships. So we have partnership with companies, great companies like Intel. We have partnership with research institutions, partnership with countries, and partnership with universities and others. We focus in our work on 6 main areas. We focus on water technology. We know that the Middle East lacks water, and water is a survival topic. We focus also on production, design, and architecture. We believe the current type of manufacturing will not last forever. We have to improve the manufacturing and come up with smart manufacturing, which digitization is an integral part of it. The third part is mobility, logistics, and smart city. Again, digitization plays a big role there. Also, as I said, digitization cut across different industries. So this is one of the topics that we promote. We also promote renewable energy and environmental technologies. These are the 6 areas we try to focus on. And of course, within these areas, there are a lot of details and different technology that we promote. I will give you now some example of the technologies and industries we promote. We believe agriculture technology is a big technology in the Middle East. It has a lot of opportunities. Given an example of UAE, UAE imports more than 80% of its food from outside. Imagine if we can reverse that and start to create our own agriculture and our own food using digitization and using agriculture technology. So this is an industry that we promote, and we see now great opportunities being created and a lot of investment being put in this type of technology. Second thing, artificial intelligence. We believe artificial intelligence is a technology that will cut across every industry, and we promote this technology by hosting R&D center, by hosting companies, and by launching different projects related to artificial intelligence applicable to different industries. We also believe in healthcare. We believe the healthcare post-COVID is different than the healthcare pre-COVID. We believe that this industry will transform and will change. And that's why we're trying to create different model, hybrid model through companies that are in the park like Napta Health to focus on introducing new hybrid system to healthcare. In this case, focus on women health. Another example, virtual reality and augmented reality. We also work with companies to develop VR and AR because we believe the various industries, whether education or healthcare or manufacturing or construction, will be impacted by different technologies. And I think VR and AR will help those industries perform better and become more effective and efficient. As I said, we focus on renewable energy. Solar technology is something that we also promote and try to develop, working with various partners. I must here clarify that those examples that I gave are real examples promoted by different private companies. So these are actually companies that I'm talking about when I talk about these examples. Also, to be able to create an innovation ecosystem, we have to create enablers. And at the Sharjah Research and Technology Park, we are very proud to have probably one of the regional biggest maker space and fabrication space, where we will have equipment like rapid prototyping, electronics, textile, wood, others, to enable our young people, our entrepreneurs, faculties, students, to come and co-create and co-invent and start smart manufacturing. We, again, proud of working with companies that redefining existing relationship. In this case, we have the first fuel delivery application company is part of our park, which is redefining how petrol station work. And we believe these are disruptive technologies that will flourish throughout the Middle East. We are a testing ground to different mobility and new technologies, autonomous cars, autonomous buses, and autonomous taxis. We work with global institutions like Nokia on developing 5G network and 5G use cases to different industries. And we are very proud here to also mention Intel, because this is something that we can also join hand in developing use case for our regional use case, focusing on certain industries. We are very proud also to have additive manufacturing centers. The park hosts 3 types of 3D printing. We print plastic, and during COVID, we printed face shield to people, to healthcare, to police and others. We also print metal. We are one of the fewest area in the region that they print metal, and also we have construction 3D technology. So we have really significant hub around additive manufacturing, and we are very proud of it, and we intend to grow it more and more and become center for this in this region. Another bright example of the SRTI Park is the transport and logistics. So we host Global Companies Innovation Center. This is a new generation of transport train, a new type of train which is more sustainable, more cost efficient, and more friendly as well. So this is a big project that we are trying to promote. Of course, we do this based on partnership, and we are very proud to also work with United Nations Technology Innovation Labs to help develop our activities and develop our ecosystem and make us more connected to global larger ecosystem. I think this is the big picture of where, or how the park look like today. We have different companies, but we also launched different initiatives. We have the Sharjah Advanced Industry Accelerator, which is a global accelerator that we are trying to attract advanced industry entrepreneurs. And we are also very active when it comes to topic of women in technology, and we promote diversity and inclusiveness. So I think this is the last slide of my presentation. I will be happy to answer more questions, but as you can see from this slide, the park hosts different and very diverse type of companies, all focus on creating opportunities, business opportunities for all of us, and creating jobs and hopefully knowledge and intellect. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Your Excellency. So I believe I was not mistaken to mention about the collaboration between industry, academia, and public sector, and the park joined all of these into one vision, as you have presented. Now we will move to share the presentation from Mr. Tommy regarding Intel's vision for smart city. Okay.
Thank you, Adib. Let me share my screen. Just give me a second. Okay, just checking if you can see my screen. Is it coming through? Just waiting a second to see that confirmation that the screen is coming through.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, excellent. So thank you very much for Your Excellency, Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park, for having me and Intel here today. And dear all attendees, pleasure to be able to be with you here today as part of this webinar. As Adip kindly introduced, my name is Tommi Raitio. I used to live in UAE for 7 years before moving here in Spain, and my background is mainly in IoT and telco, also including smart city. And today's presentation will be mainly about smart city. That gives us the context, but we'll talk about other aspects as well. So it's a broad topic of smart city, and it could be approached from the various angles. So unlike some might expect, I'm not going to talk that much about the semiconductor products today, but rather focus on key technology enablers and also some non-technical aspects that impact smart cities. 100 years ago, there were still fewer than 12 cities in the world over 1 million inhabitants. In 2014, the number was 488. And by 2030, there's supposed to be about 662 cities with more than 100 million of population. So today, there are 7.8 billion people in the world, and the majority live in cities. So how we manage cities will be critical to the future of humankind. So approximately 55% of us live in cities in today, and 2050, that number is going to be 66%. So urbanization is really an unstoppable trend. So yes, people move to cities because of economic opportunity, better jobs, higher income, but it's also about chasing a dream for a happier, better life. So that's what cities can give people. City leaders are facing challenges across many areas, including transportation, enabling mobility to decrease gridlocks, allowing people to spend less time in the traffic. Energy, address climate change, embrace renewable and sustainable sources. Public safety, reducing crime, deliver effective law enforcement. Health, provide access to healthcare, reduce healthcare costs. And finally, not least, environment, to ensure clean air and water and prevent pollution. So by evolving to a smart city, we can give citizens back an important element of their lives, and that's time. So according to a recent study by Juniper Research, smart cities have a potential to give back 3 full working weeks worth of time for each city dweller every year. So that's 15 days of the year. So imagine the beneficial ways that citizens can utilize this precious time, getting more active by exercising regularly, having enough time to enjoy a meal, spend time with the family, and so forth. So let me pause here and let's have a first quick poll for the presentation. So let's look at the question here. The question goes: what is the biggest urban challenge that smart city solutions should focus to help with? There are 3 options. First, mobility, helping people to spend less time in transport. Second option, public safety, making cities safer. Third option, environment. One example of that, prime example, is including having better air quality. So we'll give you a little bit time to have your perspective here. There's no right and wrong, but what we're interested here is to get your opinion and just consider and provide your answers, and we'll look at the results in a few seconds. Okay, here goes. Looks like that the top response was environment, including air quality, and second, related to mobility. Third, public safety, and I'm sure this is not something that is insignificant by anybody, but I can relate to this this priority that you people have responded here. So we're going to discuss a little bit further on those points later on. Okay. Now that was to set the scene why we're focusing on smart cities. So now I transition a little bit about from the Intel standpoint, how we approach this one. Let's talk about the technology a little bit first. In this year computer electronics show in Las Vegas, January, Intel CEO Bob Swan was asked, what are the most important technology trends for Intel? And he responded, artificial intelligence, 5G, and intelligent edge. Those three were the key technologies on his mind that are impacting Intel and, let's say, providing the strategic framework, what's the top priorities for us. So why not cloud or IoT? Aren't these important as well? Well, sure they are, but these have been around for a while now, and their impact on smart cities is already well understood. While AI and 5G instead are setting up into, I would say, a new phase of accelerated progress in smart city solutions. So where does this sudden AI surge come from? Well, data for one. In 2019, the average internet user generated roughly 25 gigabytes of data, IP traffic per month. In comparison, in a single day, a smart car will generate double that amount of data, i.e. 50 gigabytes. And that's only we're talking about 2019. In the middle of the slide, you can see analytics that can be categorized in this way based on how advanced level of AI or analytics we're talking about here. Descriptive and diagnostic analytics, sometimes called as operational analytics, helps us to understand what happened, and why. Predictive, prescriptive, and cognitive analytics, sometimes called as advanced analytics, helps us to predict and advance for the future. Edge computing extends applications, data, and compute from centralized points to logical extremes of the network, thereby shifting the processing and analytics closer to the source and consumption of data. So this distributed consumption model, computing model, is driven by requirements for latency, bandwidth, cost, and availability, security, and network connectivity. So we are seeing a significant growth in IoT markets worldwide, driven part by a dramatic increase of vision applications, particularly those leveraging artificial intelligence. These imaging and video use cases can span nearly every area of IoT. These include finding product defects on assembly lines, managing inventory in retail, identifying equipment maintenance needs in remote locations, enabling public safety in cities and airports. They all leverage high-resolution camera and create extraordinary amounts of data that needs to be aggregated and analyzed at the edge. So let's have a second poll here and get your opinion on one important question. In your opinion, which technology will be the most useful in enabling future smart cities? And we have 4 options here: AI, 5G, cloud, and blockchain, in your perspective. Okay, we'll give you like 30 seconds to consider the response, and it would be interesting to see your perspectives. And the results are coming. Okay. I'm sure you see the results equally as I do. So not surprisingly, you and majority of the attendees here consider that artificial intelligence is probably the most useful in enabling future smart cities. Not surprising. As I said, there's no right or wrong answers, but it's very interesting to see where people's mind is at the moment. And 5G, a good second. And there were a few people voting also cloud and blockchain, which undoubtedly will be important elements as well. Good. Thanks for attending that. Let's move on. Well, we've seen all kinds of curves, and this one here is an adoption curve. It's not the hype curve. This is an adoption curve, and it basically says that in terms of smart city, we are at the moment in the early parts of what's called early majority adoption. And that's a good place to be, because at this phase of adoption, the early adoption is done, the kind of early innovations being already done, which means that there are lots of learnings available. So there's lots of opportunities to learn from mistakes. Technology in many parts have been matured and it's broadly available. And the hype is over. So if you would have a hype curve here, I mean, I think most of you know the famous Gartner hype curve. In that hype curve, smart cities is probably already well beyond the peak point, and we are on the downtrending curve. Same as IoT. IoT was a super hot topic a few years ago, and I think it's went over the hype curve, which is kind of good. That IoT became a, say, fairly mature phenomena where lots of the technologies are already widely available. Okay, moving on to Intel Smart City Vision. Just a few points on this one. In the lower part of the slide, you can see some of the technology areas that Intel is providing, starting from edge compute, wireless technology, including Wi-Fi, 5G, network access, including core networks and cloud and analytics and edge compute. So that's what Intel is focusing on. In the mid section there, there's a cities and benefits, and we kind of talk about that a little bit already, what those are. But the real main point I want to focus on this slide and drive your attention is the top part here. It's about policy, governance, financing, and strategy. And these are the things that the city itself has to put time on. And I can't emphasize this more. I used to be, one of my earlier assignments a few years ago was leading Intel Smart City efforts in EMEA. And in that job, I had an opportunity to meet quite a few cities, including cities in UAE, Saudi, but also in Europe, places like Ireland, UK, London, Stockholm, Sweden, Barcelona, Spain, to mention a few. And if I think about those ones that were successful in executing their smart city strategy, the common denominator always was that they had a complete and early on analysis on what they want to achieve, what's the underlying goal here, and when they clarified and crystallized that, then they drove a consensus across the government and involved the private sector in those engagements. And that's the recipe, because the technology rarely is the kind of the bottleneck here. It's available. Anything you ever want to do in smart cities is more or less made possible by the technology. Well, things fall apart is in lack of collaboration, lack of vision, lack of strategy. That's the hard part. Moving on. Actually, let's before we move on, let's have this slide and have a last poll for today. So let's call the quick poll, and it's here. You can see it now. So asking, in your mind, what is the biggest areas of challenge in making cities smarter? I gave my opinion in a way, but now I'm asking from you. The first option is technology is not being mature, legal frameworks not ready, for example, regarding privacy, return of investment not being clear, obvious, city strategy and goals not defined, or lack of collaboration within and between public and private sector entities. So where do you see the biggest challenge in cities becoming smarter? We'll give you again a little bit of time to consider and give your answer, and then let's review. Okay, the results are coming. Good. So it's a fairly equal distribution. The top ones almost on the same level were legal frameworks, city strategy, and lack of collaboration. So looks like that many of you attending today are on the same page with me, agree with me about where the challenges are, or we just happen to be in the same space here. So technologies are no doubt about it important, as many of you probably feel, but that's rarely the most challenging part here. Okay, thanks for attending that. Moving on to not too many slides left, so let's move quickly for the remaining parts here. So I don't want to talk a lot about Intel, but just a few points about here. So Intel's strength is really, you would think about it's in a semiconductor. That's what we do. But in terms of our customer success, that's like that's an obvious part. Our true strength in the customer interactions is in the ecosystem. So we've been building vertical specific ecosystem for decades. And one of the very concrete outcomes of this systematic ecosystem building is what we call market-ready solutions. So these are end-to-end IoT solutions ready for market deployments. They all include Intel ingredients, but the solutions are being built by other companies, and some of the names are visible here in these slides. So Intel market-ready solutions have satisfied our fairly rigorous review process, including considerations for solution readiness elements like availability, purchase, commercial market deployments, documented support models, and so forth. So this is an Intel program that's potentially available to any solution provider based on Intel platform. So at the moment, there are already 100 plus market-ready solutions, from which at least 20 are focusing on the smart cities in particular. One thing I want to highlight here is that Intel is launching a project Mustaqbal. That's a Middle East-focused initiative supporting the governments and ecosystem in the region, as many countries diversify their economies beyond oil, more to knowledge-based economies. So we're pulling technical, sales, and marketing resources, repurposing our UAE Innovation Hub to focus on use cases related to project and creating partnerships with key ecosystem players, including OEMs, ISVs, and SIs. So looking forward to the future, the Project Mustaqbal team is currently working on identifying the key use cases sought after by customers in the region to match with the right Intel technologies and experts. So Intel will engage with its partners to identify the data-centric AI and IoT projects they are engaged with, so that match with them with the Intel technologies and help expedite these very projects. So that's Project Mustaqbal. As mentioned, we do have an innovation center in UAE, and I'm particularly proud of this place. It's located in Dubai Silicon Oasis, as it was put in place during the years I was based in UAE. So that's a showcase partner and ecosystem solutions on all key technologies, including the ones mentioned here today, AI and edge, but also workplace transformation and analytics. The developing and testing zone is in the lab also. There's samples available for POCs and pilots, and there's lots of workshops and training and business meetings run in this facility. And thing we are particularly proud here today is the collaboration between Sharjah Research Technology and Innovation Park and Intel. So it's an MOU in place between us, focusing on implementing new initiatives, accelerating deployment of AI and analytics use cases, involving in the Solution Innovation Lab. And then we'll do, again, as we do in the UAE Innovation Hub of Intel, also here providing workshops around education with analytics, AI, and workplace transformation. And that concludes my, my presentation today, focusing on smart cities. Keeping in mind that the success for smart cities, what's important here is think big, start small, and move fast. With that, I thank you for your attention today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation by His Excellency and this small one from Intel. And I'm sure we can now open for Q&A.
Thank you very much. I have a questions, Tom, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I think I saw also questions from the audience, similar questions. You spoke about the 3 layers of deployment projects. You talked about the city, and then you talked about the citizen, and then you talk about the Intel. Of course, depends on from a city to a city, from a country to a country. The implementation of the smart city varies on the players. Do you see any role for new players to come into the system to help expedite and make the implementation of this more effective? Or do you think these are the layers that the traditional layers that they should be there?
No, that's Your Excellency, that's a great question. So let me tackle first that this smart city, the whole phenomenon ecosystem should be understood more as a journey than as a fixed goal. And every city is somewhere in that journey. Some are starting, some are further on. And what really varies between the cities is that every city has taken a different goal in that journey. Some cities are focusing on economic growth, so it's enabling businesses. Some cities are focusing on safety. Certain cities are focusing on people happiness and the quality of life. And depending on what the overarching goal is taking, the implementation and the ecosystem required to do that varies a lot. So what I showed today is I would call is almost like an oversimplification of the elements. So every city could, and in my mind, should build its own layers and own players depending on what the goal is. And regarding the goals, whether it's economics, whether it's safety, whether it's environment or happiness, there's no right or wrong here. Basically, it's as long as it's defined. The problem is that if it's not defined, so if it's all of that, then it becomes hard for a city to focus and reach out to the right type of ecosystem partners to fulfill the value chain.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I am going through the question. So we have a lot of interesting question on the system. So there is a question about the culture, the society culture. How does it affect the acceptance for some culture for smart city? Do you see a pushback? Can you share some experience on the culture with smart city?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, I can. So one of the most obvious, if I take a concrete example here, one of the most obvious areas where the culture become a major player in the smart city solutions or implementation is when it comes to related to privacy. So much of the smart city solutions, they somehow have to do with people privacy, whether we're talking about the transportation solutions that has cameras implemented and figuring out the traffic moves or crowd management, crowd congestion solutions, or solutions that automatically detect crime or accidents. The current algorithms of being utilized can recognize people. And sometimes it's required to make a best out of the solution. Sometimes it's a liability because of the privacy reasons. So governments and cultures who are either more comfortable of having an open dialogue about the privacy issues typically make faster progress here. And I'm not talking necessarily that it has to be like a system, let's say, well, let's take an example of China, where the fast progress have been able to made in smart city solutions, particularly the ones involving cameras and analytics. And that's something to do with the culture, with the legal framework and the system in China, so that allows that. But that's not the only recipe for success. I'm sure also in more let's say Middle East cultures, Western cultures, there can be found a right approach based on the cultural the basics to address those issues. The problem comes when the issues cannot be addressed and the legal framework is not being built, and it's like stuck in the situation where the legal framework is not being built and the culture doesn't support moving forward, and that's when is a serious limitations for the implementation of smart city solutions. So yeah, culture plays a key role for sure.
Okay, so I have also a question about a concern of smart city affecting employment rates. So they are asking, there will be some jobs that will disappear? How government are addressing employment rates because of smart city implementation?
Maybe.
Yes.
Okay. I think, in my opinion, smart cities will create new opportunities rather than really taking opportunities out. I think it will grow your businesses bigger. It will grow your opportunities more. It will connect you with more players globally than your local market. So I actually think that new technologies and smart city concepts will actually create more jobs and more new opportunities and more skills as well.
I think your Excellency, your answer is great. So basically, I'm totally in the same space here. So this cities compete. Cities compete, trying to become more attractive, try to be a better place for people to move in and work. And cities who are able, successful to make themselves smart, they attract people. They create more workplace. It's a positive circle that comes out of that.
Yeah, thank you. I have two questions, but it's very similar because they talk about industrial focus or by segment. So one of the question is talking about sustainability and smart buildings in order to like green buildings, how SRTIP or Intel can help on that. The other question is talking how we can also implement AI in energy or oil and gas field. So these are like segment into smart city. Can you give us some example, Mr. Tommy, on that?
Oh, absolutely. Both areas mentioned here are key, particularly in Middle East and UAE. I would consider, in terms of smart building solutions, focusing on energy savings. The greatest progress I've seen so far anywhere has been from UAE. There's a number of ecosystem players already in UAE who can provide solutions for either for new greenfield buildings or implementing in the old ones, making them much more energy efficient. And sometimes it's funny, it doesn't even require to change any of the mechanics. The AC elements can be left the same. It's just basically tapping into the existing system, applying new logic in terms of advanced analytics, and you'll be surprised how much energy cost can be saved just by cooling at the right amount at the right moment and applying some predictions in when to do that. So there are shining examples across UAE regarding that. And the other area, the oil and gas mentioned here, certainly oil and gas is such a broad area. So there are many IoT solutions applied there. In terms of AI, naturally, it's fundamental for the AI algorithms being used for finding finding oil, doing that seismographic analysis of finding oil. So that's key and a competitive factor for many of the oil companies nowadays. But then there are more things like employee and worker safety solutions based on IoT, providing people safety when they move around the oil fields and areas, figuring out their vital signs and making sure that if they have an accident or they fall or their vital signs differ, they're being monitored constantly throughout the work, which sometimes can be quite dangerous.
Okay, thank you, Tommy. Your Excellency, I believe this question, you are the best person to give us an answer. So they are asking, what roles have universities in the smart city journey? So academia role.
I think universities play a big role in developing technologies, and that's why you see trends, global trends, more and more companies, great companies like Intel and other, they will move their innovation centers and R&Ds closer to universities, and because the universities has the brain and the students and the faculties that create technology. So the role of universities is very critical in developing the technology and testing the technology and piloting the technologies and creating even entrepreneurs and companies, smaller companies that can work with these big companies to commercialize these technologies. So the role of universities is very strong. Now, if you want to see example, for example, of the role of university and how strong is universities, we take example of leading global universities like Harvard or Stanford or MIT and see how much wealth and intellectual they created vis-a-vis other universities in other parts of the world. So university is a very critical. And today we talk about triple helix, which means universities, government, academia, private sector, they joined hand in hand to co-create technologies and opportunities.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. Another question, Your Excellency, is about startups. So people are looking and they have looking to do startups in the business of smart city. So what advice you give them, and how you believe they can get help for startups in smart for the field of smart cities?
I think Tommy had a very nice slide. His slides were really nice, and I would love for him to share with us his slides. But there was some slide about think big and also act fast. And there was something in the middle. I don't remember now.
Smart small.
Yes, start small. Exactly. So he answered this. You know, the opportunities is there. I think I don't know. I think startups today have more opportunity than ever using technologies to grow. There are all kinds of programs. We have, for example, at Sharjah Research and Technology Park and accelerators where we help them with funds and with know-how and with relationship with projects. Our sister organization, Sharjah Entrepreneurship Center, also have their own program, which they also help with fund and mentoring and incubation and all kinds of things. We are a government, so we work with government and we have access to projects, and we work with international companies like Intel, which they have their own also innovation center designed for these startups to flourish. So the support is there, but you have to take the first initiative and you have to try. And again, think big, start small, be fast, but you do your homework right. That's very
Yeah, thank you. I believe it was a very nice session, especially now the Q&A, a lot of nice questions from the audience. There are a few questions, I believe, how they can reach Sharjah Research Technology Innovation Park, and also how they can connect with Intel. I believe the people who attended, they will receive some emails, the presentation, and they can come back to us. As you know, Tommy is in Spain, but myself and we have a team of Intel employees in the UAE that are looking to support customers and partners. So we have people focusing on ecosystem partners and people focusing on end customers. And we are quite sure in UAE, especially with our collaboration with Sharjah Innovation Park, we will be giving some joint effort in order to help some initiative in Northern Emirates or across all the Emirates of UAE. So I believe I will give you like couple 1 minute each for a closing from your side. If you have a final word, Your Excellency and Mr. Tommy, please go ahead.
I just want to say thank you very much to Mr. Tommy and to you, Adib, for making the time to be part of us with this. I would like also to thank the participant and the team behind this. I think these are the type of engagement we need to do to develop our innovation ecosystem. So what we do here is we are trying to develop a synergy. We are trying to develop our mindset, so we can speak the same language, so we can innovate together. So I'm very delighted to be part of this. Thank you for including me, and I wish everyone all the best. We at the Sharjah Research and Technology Park were created to become a platform for all of you to interact and cooperate. We have the right enablers to make you grow and develop your products and your opportunities. So I encourage you to be part of our ecosystem, and we are at your service. Thank you.
And from my side, I think the key point is that the collaboration between Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park and Intel is a prime example of those things that make a difference. So that those things make a difference for longer term in these domains. And special thank you for Your Excellency for having Intel with you here today in this webinar, and also for all the attendees. I hope you enjoyed and this was informative for you as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so now we can close the session. Thank you very much for your time.